How's it going, everybody? This is Jason Ostrowski, and welcome to another episode of the Everything Real Estate Podcast. Today, I'm excited to have Andrew Jacobs on the podcast with us. Andrew is the team leader of the Jacobs team, operating out of the Yardley-Newtown and Princeton Junction offices at Fox & Roach. Today, we'll be discussing the importance of finding your authentic self in real estate. Andrew's passion for, quote, ditching the script and emphasizing a genuine approach in his business has helped to earn the trust of his clients and in turn allowed Andrew and his team to be consistent top producers in our industry, earning Chairman's Circle Award honors every year from 2019 through 2024, and landing his team in the top 1% of the BHHS network nationwide. In this episode, Andrew will share his insights on how authenticity can enhance client relationships, build trust, and ultimately lead to greater success. So let's dive into the conversation with Andrew Jacobs, and we'll pick it up on the other side. My guest this week is someone that I could literally spend all day talking to about real estate. He always has great insights, great ideas, and always makes me think a little more about the way I approach my real estate business whenever I'm around him. He is Andrew Jacobs, team leader of the Jacobs team and realtor extraordinaire from our Yardley-Newtown and Princeton Junction offices. Andrew, it's always great having you on the podcast. How's your 2025 treating you so far?
What an intro. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. Yeah, 2025 is good. Getting excited to start again.
Yeah, you and I were talking about the anxiety that we both feel starting
every year.
Hey, listen.
Every deal you close, you get fired and you start again. So
first of the year, we're all unemployed. First of the year, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so today we're talking about something near and dear to your heart. So you and I talked about doing a podcast. We kind of were going over topics, and you really, really love this topic. In fact, so much so that you're currently writing a book on the subject, which is pretty amazing. So that topic is being your authentic self in real estate. So if I could start out with a broad question for you, how do you define authenticity in your real estate practice, and why is it so important?
You know, I'll try to get this across eloquently, but I'm really just going to speak from the heart. I mean, when I got into this business, I noticed that there's a lot of salespeople. And I don't know, something never rubs me totally right about that. As I meet people and potential clients, you know, they're real people just like me. I'm no better than them. They're no better than me. We're all equal. And we're just having a conversation about their needs and real estate. And I just don't understand the training in a lot of offices. And, you know, if you YouTube how to be a real estate agent, it's all about trying to get that sale or get the client, et cetera. I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me. And I just try to approach my life in the way that, how would I want a real estate agent, let's say, to talk to me if I was the client? And the last thing I would want is a script or them selling me or, you know, just kind of getting one over on me. It doesn't make sense to me. So I've tried to approach this business from a standpoint of authenticity. And by doing that, I think we've gotten a lot of trust from our clients. They trust us. I trust them. And at this point, there's a lot of referral-based business that we have, and that's a beautiful thing. And it's built on trust, and it's built on, you know, shooting straight with people, not just trying to get to the closing. You know, really, I mean, I will cancel a deal in 2 seconds if I'm not happy with the house for them or something like that. I'll explain to them why, and that's really how you build. So to define authenticity in real estate, I think I'd simply say it's treating someone like you would want to be treated and treating people like they are intelligent. How about that?
I like that. I think as realtors, you know, we're always in pursuit of perfection when it comes to ourselves and how we portray ourselves a lot of times. We see this over video a lot, right? People fret about the videos that they're putting out because they want them to be perfect. But the people who actually do the best It's not the ones that are perfect with their language, their wording. It's those that come across as authentic, like we talked about. And you could have blemishes and all out there as long as people know it's you that they're getting and not some, advisor of you, that it's that fake persona that people put out there sometimes that doesn't get any traction with people, like you said. And I want to talk further about what that means to your clients and the authenticity when it comes to your clients. In what ways does authenticity contribute to building trust with your clients? Because you laid it out there already that you would potentially talk to them about canceling a deal if something doesn't sit right with you. It's not all about getting to closing, which builds obviously trust with your clients. So in what ways does authenticity contribute to building trust with your clients?
It's a great question. And let's get specific. Nobody needs a vague speech here or just something that they can't put into practical use. Specifically, let's say I was invited over to meet with a seller and I'm looking through their house and then it's sitting with them. Too often, I think not we necessarily, but real estate agents at large are trained to have scripts ready, have objections, like objection handling. Well, I don't know if I should use you as an agent, and so then you train yourself to match the objection. I don't know. I just don't do any of that. I think it doesn't build rapport, it doesn't build trust. So if I'm sitting at the table and the seller's on the other side of the table, I will mentally, not literally, but mentally, I will put myself on the same side of the table as them. It's almost as if I'm not in the room. And I do this with buyers as well. Just any clients that I'm meeting, I try to take myself out of the equation. The ego's gone, and I'm them now, right? And I'm thinking, okay, there's this real estate agent sitting across from me or standing across from me, and we're having a conversation. What do I need from this person? So you try to learn about the person you're across from. Again, you're not part of the equation. What do they need? And then when you hear their needs and evaluate everything, then the real key to this is providing that person with value. And so I work really hard on making sure I know the market, making sure I know the contracts, making sure I know my values, and really try to position them to find success. So if their goal is to sell this house and move to this area, I want to know what I'm talking about and give them value. But again, conveying it in a way that is how they would want to hear it. So if I pretend I'm them, do I really want an agent across the table giving me some pre-written script and saying, now, if I can't negotiate with you, how am I going to negotiate with the buyer's agents? It's just it's so ridiculous. I've heard all these lines and they just don't make sense to me. I would sit across from that agent and I would just say, is this guy kidding me? This is a sales job. So instead, I think it's better to say, okay, I've heard your goals. We do this all the time. Let me try to explain to you what I think the best method for you is. I don't think you should sell right now. It sounds like you're too close with the funds and we don't know where you're going. And it would be irresponsible for me to just put your house for sale when we don't know where you're going. So how about, let's talk about maybe looking for a rental. And then once you kind of get the lease in place, then maybe we could put your house for sale. You can get the funds, go into the rental, and that can take the weight off your shoulders of this house. And blah, blah. Or you could say, you know what, I think maybe you should wait 6 months, get your situation together. I mean, that's honest advice. And if it's the truth, right, if it's the best thing for them, well, now I'm pretending I'm on the same side of the table as them. And someone is telling me they're forgetting about they want the sale. They want to get a house for, on the market. And they're saying to me, oh, you know what, they heard my situation and maybe this is not the right idea at this point. Maybe in 6 months, yeah, I can build a little more, and then maybe we can pounce at that time. I mean, what a great approach. And then what I find is the relationship deepens. I'm the only agent, let's say they interviewed 3, I'm the only agent in that meeting that spoke that way. And now when the future comes, if they do decide to sell, great. But you better believe that person's going to share my name with friends and family and say, hey, this guy's shooting straight.
The one thing that always strikes me when I'm around you is that there's this ease about you, right? I feel like it is very disarming, and I think there's a charm to it. I think that probably helps you to connect with your clients, I'm sure. But like seriously, like when we talk, like I'm like, oh, this guy just he's confident and he's got this easiness about him that I like, right? And I'm not trying to flatter you. I'm not trying to flatter you. I'm just
Okay.
saying that I can see it going over well with your clients because I do trust what you're saying. And, maintaining your authenticity helps to differentiate you from, other agents in a competitive market. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Well, thanks for those kind words. I mean, I've just tried to, and this is not just in real estate. I've really tried to work on this in life, and to try to have an ease of operating in all facets of life. But a good book that everyone should read is The Go Giver. Great book, and there's several others like it. When I started, I was going to open houses and I was trying to meet the other agents out there and kind of see what they were doing. And once I saw it, I just tried to see how it made me feel. There's an agent in Colorado. She wrote a book called Sell with Soul. It's a little outdated at this point, but her message in it is wonderful. And basically, what she talks about is if it feels icky, don't do it. And to me, selling feels icky. I also don't think we're in a sales business. I think maybe the companies need to sell, et cetera. But for me as a real estate professional, I'm in a value giving business. I don't have a product to sell. I'm just trying to give people value and hopefully they hire me and that's how I get paid. So, but I don't have a product. I have to match this person with the right situation. So when you just totally flip that on its head and you just get rid of the word sales, and you really convince yourself that I am not a salesperson. I am just, I give value and I'm a professional in real estate. I know my market. I know the contracts. Then I forgot your question at this point, but basically, I try to operate that way in all facets of life. And I think, I appreciate you saying I'm disarming and all of that. I mean, I don't know that that's true. I think more is that I'm just speaking from my heart, and I think probably most of the agents you talk to are trying to strategize and figure out a way to talk to the client and work on a script and all this different stuff. And this book I'm working on is called Ditch the Script, and really it's just about connecting with people and giving them value. And we can get into more specific examples, but I don't think this is rocket science. I think it's all about trusting your gut. And if something doesn't feel right, you have to fix it. I also think it's about removing ourselves from the equation. Like, when you're dealing with somebody who's about to go through something extremely stressful, why do I matter? I need to make sure that they matter and what their goals are matter. And I happen to just be in this business and know the market and know how to get these things done most of the time. So that I find that that's my role instead.
Well, you mentioned a couple things in that answer. One was the Go Giver, which you're speaking my language because that's a very ninja selling related book there. All about putting other people first and providing value, right? Which you touch upon. And maybe disarming is not the right word. It's more you don't have an angle, right? When you meet with people, right? A lot of agents have an angle that they're driving to when they're with clients, and you are angle-less if they're, I guess that's for lack of a better word. You're kind of going in there and here I'm laying out my cards on the table. What do you think? And I'm going to give you an honest assessment about everything. So can you discuss the role of authenticity in your marketing and branding strategies? Because does that carry over into what you do in terms of your marketing? So
Yes,
let's talk
totally.
about that a little bit.
I love that question. Yes. So we've talked, my wife and I, my wife's a realtor as well, and we work together. And Gina and I have talked so much about this over the years. And basically, again, it's the same principle, right? How do I want somebody to market to me, right? So do I want an automated email, happy Veterans Day or whatever? I mean, maybe an automatic text or maybe stuff in the mail that's just like a flyer or whatever. not really. I don't really feel a personal connection. And if it was me, if I'm at my house, whenever I go through the mail, it's mostly junk and I'm mostly tossing it out. It's not somebody I would hire or whatever. I think most of us don't respond to junk mail. So then why, if I'm building my business, would I send the same stuff? It's not something that's giving anybody value. So my wife and I have talked a lot about how do we market ourselves and how do we stay in touch with all of our clients. And basically, we just think about them and how what would they want to receive. So we don't do again. This is against most of what we're trained, but we don't do automated emails. We don't have a newsletter. We don't send generic mail. We don't really automate any of the communications to our clients. It's all personal. So I might go through and say hi to people just through text, etc. A big way that people communicate these days is Instagram and Facebook. And, we're friends with a lot of our clients, genuinely friends. So, we're seeing their updates, they're seeing our updates, and they just know we're there. I mean, really, how do you stay in touch with your friends and family and some people you've worked with, et cetera? If you post a picture on Instagram and, you see the people liking it, you saw that person liked it, and that's a touch right there. That's a communication with this professional. That's it. That's all it is these days. Picking up the phone and, hey, how you doing? I was thinking of you, and I haven't talked to you in 3 months. What's new? And they're like, yeah, I'm busy. I'm driving my kid to soccer practice. And I'm like, I'm not calling with anything. I'm just calling because the book says I should call and make sure I talk to everybody. So again, do I want my realtor calling me randomly in the middle of the day when I'm doing stuff? No, absolutely not. I don't. So I don't do those things either. So really, it's just about what's the experience I like from my mechanic or something. Like they're giving me the automated calls and the flyers in the mail or whatever. Well, that's kind of annoying. So we just try to not be annoying. We just stay in touch with people organically. And we don't. I know some agents have a ranking system, and they'll put like their A clients and their C clients and their D clients. Well, let me tell you my thought on that. If I knew that somebody I've worked with had me on a list that I was ranked a D, that would not make me feel good. So I don't do it to them. And really, it's just we have everyone's equal, and we just try to stay in touch with people just organically and in a fun way. And again, we're friends through social, and that's how you stay in touch with people these days. So I don't find it as work. We don't really look at marketing as work. We just look at it as making sure everyone knows we're there to help when they're ready.
I have a few things to say about what you just said. So number one,
I think it's controversial what I'm saying. So
I don't. I actually don't think so at all. I get it. I personally, and again, anybody who's listening out there, I don't mean to be mean about anything, but please do not send me, if you're another agent, a reminder to set my clocks back. Right? I don't. That in an email from you that I know is being blasted out to 2,000 agents. Also, like Happy Flag Day, like that doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't do anything for anybody else. Like, please stop doing that. That doesn't make any sense to do. Number two, I do agree with you that, this year in particular, I said to my wife, here's one of my goals. Like, I'm putting it out there for you. I want to go see 50 of my clients this year and get in front of them, right? Mm-hmm. So that involves picking up a phone and actually calling your clients and going out just to stop by and say hi. In fact, I'm going tomorrow to a client. I called her last week. I said, listen, you're coming up on your year anniversary. I just want to stop by and say hi, tell you about the appreciation that you've made on your home the past year, right? 15 minutes and I'll be gone. I promise you.
Well, see, you're giving them value. You're not just stopping by and just, so you can check them off on a list. You're actually going to tell them something they might want to know.
Well, and again, this goes back to your automation, right? There's so much that we do that is automated nowadays, but that personal touch is missing. So this year, I want to focus on the personal touch when everybody else is kind of gearing towards that automation. I want to go the other way. I was telling, one of my team members, like when everybody else does XYZ, like you go in the opposite direction, because I feel like that herd mentality happens all the time in real estate, and we got to get away from it, And the greatest compliment that I can think of with my clients is I went to a wedding of, a couple of my clients recently. And I was so excited because I love these clients of mine, right? And we've built this friendship, and I just can't think of a better testament to the job that you're doing than when you become personal friends with them enough that they invite you to stuff like their wedding.
Yeah, a wedding invite's serious. Good job.
No, I appreciate that. So, all right. So I want to talk about authenticity next when it comes to actually dealing with your colleagues and with your co-ops. So in your experience, how does authenticity impact negotiations with other agents and actually closing deals? Like, is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? Are you too honest with other agents?
My answer is predictable, but but again, you want to approach all of your life like this, not just some of your life like this. Really just trying to be honest, respectful, ethical. I think we have some issues with that in our industry too. I mean, it's just, again, it's putting ourselves first, and then you make poor decisions because it's based on yourself. So when I'm dealing with co-ops and other agents, so for example, if I have a house for sale and there's multiple offers coming in, and agents, listen, they're working really hard to put their offers together and to try to win the house and try to coach their client, et cetera. So I'm going to give them all the respect they deserve. I think we all know the experience on being on the buyer's side. Well, at least everyone that's listening that's an agent, and you're putting in an offer and you hear nothing back, and you can't get in touch with the other agent, and you're getting no feedback, no information to try to help. And it's just a very frustrating experience, and I think that starts everything off on the wrong foot. So I'm not perfect, but I try to be in touch with it, especially if there's multiple offers, with those agents, give them feedback on the offer. Hey, it was missing this page. You should get that in as well. I need to see that information. And I asked my seller to give me permission, if they are open to it, to kind of giving these agents some game plan on how they can improve their offers. I find that to be in the best interest of my client, frankly. I think these agents who put the house for sale and they're closed-lipped, they don't say a word, and they call for maybe the best and final offer by Sunday night, I don't know that you're getting the best offers that you could have. But I find when I'm constantly communicating with these buyer's agents and saying, hey, there's a couple of offers better than yours. Like, you may want to adjust this and that. And I think this part of your offer was the weaker part, and I think my seller would really like this part improved. You should, I really find, and I don't know that I have any data to back this up, but I find that when I'm then presenting the offers to the seller, I just feel like they really are the best offers from those buyers. And I think the seller is getting the best possible deal out there because of my negotiating style. And I learned this from our manager, Jeff, when I first started, that there's a difference between positional negotiating and principled negotiating. And I find that principled negotiating is a much more effective tactic as a real estate agent. So positional negotiating would be, if I'm negotiating inspections, digging my heels in and saying this repair has to get done, and that's the end of the story. And now we're like this. And real estate cannot work when the two parties are clashing. It has to work. Seriously, that it's just a zero-sum game. It cannot close if the two parties don't agree. Right? So what are we doing here? We're having a disagreement. We need to find an agreement. And that's really the name of the game, to help your clients get to the closing table, which is what they want to do. So a principled negotiator would instead, again, take yourself out of your seat and go in the other seat and say, okay, this buyer is really concerned about this thing, right? So let me put myself in that buyer's shoes. They are nervous. They need to know more about this thing. Their inspector told them it's a big problem. Well, maybe on the seller side, and maybe it doesn't cost us any money, why don't we call out a second opinion and a local professional and have them look at the report and look at the repair and maybe talk to us about, and maybe even talk to the buyer about their findings, and they're in the industry, and here's how they think we can resolve this. I find that just those extra layers really just bring more information to the table, and it actually helps the buyer, and then it helps my seller because we might be able to, get the buyer to feel more comfortable with this part. And if not, if the person comes out and says, hey, this is a really serious thing, well, then maybe my seller is going to have a problem with this thing with any other buyer too, and we need to actually address it. So I just find that to be a better approach when I'm just trying to find the solution. And I find that the co-op agents enjoy working with me that way. I enjoy working with them that way. And I get a lot of thank yous too, where they say, wow, I can't believe you're picking up the phone and giving me information. Again, I just try to treat them the way I would want them to treat me if I was on the other side.
I can't think of something that you said that hits home more than that. I do the same exact thing with everything that you just said. If I'm negotiating, I'm in touch with every single agent that's making an offer on my listings, and I'm telling them flat out, okay, your price, you're kind of okay, you're competitive with your price, but you're probably going to need to do a little bit more over here to be competitive. And when you do that with everybody, you circle back with everybody, it drives up that negotiation at the same time for your seller to get the best out of it. And at the same time, you're giving opportunity to those buyers agents to make the changes that they want to know that they could make in order to win out in this situation. So they're thankful for what you're giving them.
And your client is thankful, yes.
Is making out the best that they could possibly make out. So it just makes sense. And like you said about negotiating, when people dig in their heels and they become adversarial, it doesn't make any sense. We're all trying to get to the finish line here. Let's find a solution together to try and move the ball forward if this is what the parties want. Obviously,
that's what the parties want. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you got to do what your buyers and sellers want you to do.
Well, and I think that's another thing is, again, I treat people the way I would want to be treated. So if I'm a buyer, and I have an agent, and the agent's not telling me everything, I mean, I wouldn't like that if I was the buyer. So I try to go back to the client before any of these moves that I make. They're all approved by the client. I'm always talking through the strategy with the client. Okay, how do you want to go back to these people? Here's my suggestion, but tell me what you think, because it's not my deal. It's their deal. Again, we are so involved and inserted in everything we do. And if ego is the word you want to use, et cetera, why do we operate this way where we're such a big part of this thing? No, we're guides to their deal. It's not my deal. It's your deal, and I want to help you. But again, I'm not going to call shots. And this is such a big deal, right? When you're purchasing a house, it's the biggest purchase of your life. When you're selling a house, it's the biggest sale of your entire life. And so is this random agent going to call the shots and maybe mess it up by being too positional or maybe pushing around a buyer, and then I lost the buyer I had? I mean, this is the problem in our industry. So I'm trying to make it better, trying to put out information. I'm trying to speak, trying to be on podcasts, trying to write the book. Not really for me, but even me and Gina talk about that. I'm going to speak again. I'm working on this book. It's like no, but I want to see the people around me behave in this way where we can all collaborate. It will make everybody's lives better. I'm trying to, do it for the greater good. But listen, I don't want to come off like I'm this like perfect person or like, it's all woo woo or, that I'm like so kind all the time, whatever. No, I'm the same as everybody. I have the same challenges. I get frustrated. I get anxious, nervous. So I really need to put that out there. I am no perfect person. And I don't get this right all the time. I definitely get flustered, but I just try to come back to these main principles as often as I can. And that's what meditation is you bring yourself back, you bring yourself back, you bring yourself back.
Well, I'm glad you're leading into my next question, because all of us have that, frustration from time to time. We don't always live up to the principles that we have for ourselves, and we have to bring ourselves back. So, do you have kind of like a North Star or a personal value system that steers you to stay true to yourself, that reminds you of how to carry yourself or guide your professional life or life in general, right?
Yeah, my wife, Gina, that's it. I will get it wrong, and I'll be chasing the wrong thing. And she always tries to bring me back and remind us why we're doing this. So, and that's not, it's funny, but it's also true. I think you need good people around you, good people in your life. If you surround yourself with people with bad values or that are stressed out all the time or focused on the wrong things or focused on their ego, then you're going to be that way too. It rubs off. So I think it's really important to take stock. 2025, let's all do it. Figure out who's around us, who are the people we're spending the most time with, who are the people we're talking on the phone with all the time, and try to surround ourselves with people that have like values, because it will just continue to remind you. But yeah, I loved what you said, Jay. I mean, it's difficult. We lose sight all the time of our North Star and our real values. And so I think it's about always bringing yourself back. Meditation's a great practice. I don't do it all the time. I want to, but when I do it, the practice is supposed to be that you sit there, you maybe put on some good music or something soothing, and you try to just bring your mind back to the center. The thought goes off, bring it back to the center. And I feel like that's kind of the same idea, where we have our value set and we know we have it, but it gets lost because we're out there and moving so quickly. So you have to try to keep bringing it back. But I wanted to make a point about values and really trying to get this right. I think it's, I try not to be too rigid in my value set, et cetera. I try to just interact with the people that I'm working with and just try to accomplish their goals and do the right thing. And that's really it. And we're not perfect people, but you just try to do the right thing. So I wouldn't say that I have this like value set, because it's constantly evolving. I think it's just, most of it is, I just try to look at things in a positive light. Also, one last thing is, when we make mistakes or when we veer off and go towards the wrong values for a little while, there's no mistakes really, because how would I know what the good values are without getting a taste of bad values? Right? How would I know what happy is without being sad? How would I know what anger is without being, softer? So I think experiencing all of life is a positive thing, because you have to know the dichotomies. And so that's the way I try to operate. I try not to look at anything as a negative. I think Michael Jordan said something beautiful when he said, I think something like the most important shots he took in his career were the ones that he missed.
What advice would you give to new agents about integrating authenticity into their business practices? Is there something that, you would pass along to you yourself if you were starting out today?
Oh, definitely. Listen, when I was starting out, I tried to follow the book. So watching YouTubes, attending these seminars, and how to build your real estate business. And I didn't connect with most of it. So I think what I would say to someone starting out is get off YouTube for the most part. Don't Google and find a bunch of articles on how to be a real estate agent. It's really a lot of it is focused on how to sell and how to remember a script and how to handle objections and all this different stuff. And I mean, give a shot to being, if it feels icky, don't do it. I love that. It's funny, but it's true. Also, the best thing we can do is be an expert. So I work really hard on knowing, like I said before, the market, the contract, the process, thinking about negotiations, getting it right, knowing my seller's rights, knowing my buyer's rights. So if you could just be such a high quality agent or guide, as I like to call us, that's key. And then when you get in front of people and they can feel that you really want to help them, and you have to really want to help them, then you really want to help somebody, and then you actually know how to help them. That's it. It's pretty simple. I think it really is that simple. There's a 4-step process, and I hope I get this right, that basically the first step is darkness. Like, you don't know how this business works. You're a new agent. There's so much going on. There's so many different facets of real estate. So you're freaking out. That's called darkness. Then you get to the second stage where you have this enlightenment and you're like, oh, okay, I get this. I can get through a deal. I can do this, right? So then you're at the second stage. And that's a really good feeling. But then we hit this third stage, which is called complexity. And we make this thing so complicated. And we have so many different ways of doing things, and we're hearing all these ideas, and we're meeting with all these agents and getting all these different things that, oh, I need to do this, I'm not doing this well enough. And that's a really stressful point. So that's called complexity. I think I've hit the fourth stage, mostly, which is called simplicity. And you get back to the basics, and you've been through that whole muck, and now you're saying just what I said. I try to know everything I can about real estate. I'm fully immersed in it. And I try to really want to help the people I meet. And those are the only two components that I really care about. And it's worked. And we'll see if it works again this year. But I mean, I just love what I'm doing, and it's very gratifying. And I want to see more agents, really get in touch with who they are and who their clients are, and forget all this salesmanship. Geez.
I think that's awesome. Where I don't know where you got the four stages from. I have not heard that before. I think I'm perpetually stuck in stage two. I just figured out how to do real estate, and I've been ever since. You know what I mean? Yeah.
No, I want to give
complexity, no simplicity. I'm just like right there.
I want to give credit where credit's due. There's this investing author, a finance author called Rick Ferry, and he talks about index funds and how you just buy the whole market, stocks and bonds, whatever, and just hold that for life, and you don't have to pick stocks. And he came up with that 4 stages, which is, he made it for investing. I switched it to real estate, but basically it was darkness, then it's enlightenment, then it's complexity, and then the 4th stage is simplicity, and that's the best way to do that. And I feel it's the best way to do this. And I wonder how many other parts of life it can be applied to. We've kind of talked about life on this podcast, not just real estate, but you know what? I mean, really, I think we focus too much on business and all the different inner workings of this thing, when really it's about people. That's what we do.
I love that. I really do. I honestly and sincerely think that's a great kind of 4 steps to live by, just overall. So yeah, I'm definitely going to incorporate that more and think about that more on what I'm doing. So I want to know, since it's the new year and it's 2025, what's something that you want to work on this year in your business to make sure that you're more successful? What are you aspiring to do this year that's different than you've done in the past?
There's a lot of talk about team building and adding other agents to the fold, and trying to be this big mega team or something. And I've been looking into that for a few years, and I don't know, at this point though, I'm realizing that the clients and the people that we know, they want to work with me and Gina, and they want to work with, we have a team member, Amanda, and they want to work with her, and they just, they want us. And so I think this year I'm going to try to, again, do my own idea. I don't mean to keep going against the grain, but instead of team building and becoming the CEO or manager of a team, and that's like the dream or something, I mean, I'm already kind of doing the dream. I'm in touch with the clients and I'm helping them personally. So I want to just continue to do that. And so I think this year we're going to maybe focus on our systems, and streamlining some of the busy work behind the scenes, because there is a lot of paperwork we do, and organizing and things like that. So we're working on templates and kind of files sorting, and just really making sure we're buttoned up a little bit better, because when things get busy in the spring or whatnot, it's hard to keep up. So we're preparing for that now in the winter, and so I want to do a better job of systematizing and being organized, so that I can service more clients and handle what comes in, and make sure everybody feels like they're having a personal experience with working with me. And that's my goal this year. And then if we can get that going, then yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'll probably have future goals, but that was the goal. And so I'm already doing it, and I want to just improve it. And I think we always need to continue to improve, but I don't know. I've kind of taken my foot off the gas with this whole setting goals and having the goalposts so far away. I've just never felt accomplished, and I'm always having these lofty goals. So I'm trying to actually enjoy this moment and maybe just improve a little bit. But yeah, there you go.
Well, I think you and I were talking outside of the podcast that we both need to work on our organizational skills. That is forever my Achilles heel, is getting myself organized with and I keep adding more and more onto my plate. So it's just this, disorganized mess. It's like organized chaos wherever I go,
No, I'm not as bad as you, Jay.
I'm like Pigpen from like Peanuts. That like cloud of dust that's like around me. That's my paperwork. That's my MLS sheets. That's like all my
I got you. Yeah.
rotating around me as I go places. So
yeah, no, I think my point is that I'm so hands on with the back end too, and with the paperwork and different things like that. So trying to get better systems so that I can get off of that a little bit and stay, high-minded.
Well, as we wind this podcast down, I got one last question for you. And since you're an aspiring author at this point, who is your favorite author? Do you have a favorite author, and who is that? And did you have a favorite book growing up, and why was that?
Oh, that's so good. You did not put this on a list of
No,
questions, Jay.
I did not.
All right. And I read so much. So from a personal development standpoint, I think everybody should look at books like that, just to make sure that, you're continuing to grow and figure out who you are. And I'm not particularly religious, but there's some really good stuff from this old Indian sage, Ramana Maharshi, and he just talks about who am I? And I'll give you the premise, but basically he talks about, I know this is not a real estate book, but he basically says like, okay, so how old are you? And you say, all right, I'm 45. Okay, but have you always been 45? Well, no, I haven't. Okay, so then you're not 45. Who are you? And then they say, well, I'm a school teacher. Okay, well, have you always been a school teacher? No, I haven't always been a school teacher. Okay, well, that's not who you are. I'm a mother of 3 kids. Have you always been a mother of 3 kids? So you just keep peeling the onion, and then you have to figure out, well, wait a second, who am I? What are my values? Who's under there? What's the thing that is never changing, right? Well, that's been with me since birth. So anyway, that's really cool. I've been reading about that. And I think in the business world, like I said, The Go-Giver is such a good book, and I want everybody to check out that book, Sell with Soul. Like I said, it's a little bit outdated with how we work today, but that's really good stuff. There's also there's a YouTube page called BAM that has been really good, especially post NAR settlement. They've been looking around the country and looking at the different contracts from the different states. So I've been watching them a lot to make sure I know what's going on. And yeah, I don't know that I'm an aspiring author, but I do want to get this out there somehow, and it's going to take me a while, but I want to really show the other side of the coin. And one of the reasons I'm trying to do it is I haven't really seen it, and I think we can all think that way. I know you're a business guy too. You have a couple different ventures, and I think you've always thought this way too, which is there a hole? Is there a need to fill? And I feel there's a hole in the real estate agent literature and training, where it's just a lot focused on the things we've talked about today. And I want to show the other side of the coin. And I think if we just work on ourselves and figure out who we are and treat people like we want to be treated, then I think that could lead to good things. So, I hope I've inspired some people today. I certainly worry that some of this comes off as, I'm up here looking down and like I'm a goody two shoes. It's not. It's just trying to remove this selling all the time. And I think you'll make a better business because of it. You'll feel more fulfilled at night. You'll sleep well, and I think the other agents can be better as well, and we can all just have a much happier time doing this.
Well, I'll tell you what, well said with everything in this podcast. And I agree with you, going back to your kind of like finding that hole to fill, right? I feel like as entrepreneurs, a lot of times this is getting off topic, but a lot of times to our agents out there, I always feel like we have to have the mindset, like where are the gaps? Like what's needed in our business? It could be adjacent to our business. But there are definitely plenty of opportunities out there with your marketing, with other business opportunities, whatever it may be. If you find something that you're passionate about and you feel like, yeah, I need to get my point across, or I need to get this out to people, go for it. You know what I mean? You're doing that with this book, and I'm doing it.
Well, and I think maybe my message is more that we need to not view ourselves as salespeople. We need to view ourselves as service providers. We're in the service industry. I was a waiter for a long time. That's service. And if we can just rewire our brain to think that way, and again, I didn't come up with this. My managers taught me and my mentor when I started. So Berkshire Hathaway Fox and Roach was where I started. I'm still here. It's about it's a great company because they have those long-term values. They teach you how to build a long-term business, and So I was very lucky to have that type of leadership.
And the last thing I want to say is that since you gave your book, I'm going to give you mine. It's not as high-minded as yours.
Well, this is my concern. I told you.
No. Listen,
I don't want to come off that way.
It's good. Now, Count of Monte Cristo is my favorite book.
I downloaded it. I've never read it, but I did download
it. I've read it probably. I don't even know. It's a very long book. I will tell.
Yeah, I saw. That's why I haven't read it yet.
But I probably have gone through it at least 6 times, I want to say.
Really? Okay. All right. So, it's on the list.
Yeah, it may speak to you, it may not. And the listeners out there, some of you may have read it, some of you may have not. But it's just for its time and place and the creativity, the imagination of Alexander Dumas it's just crazy how someone can do something like that. It marvels me. So
okay, it's on the list.
All right, man, let's get out of here. Thank you for joining me, Andrew. Always good to see you. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you around the bend.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And keep doing what you're doing. I love the episodes.
That was the conversation with Andrew Jacobs. Here are a few takeaways that I had in talking to Andrew. Number 1, I think we're all guilty of doing this, but when we meet with a prospective seller, we meet with a prospective buyer, we're in our own heads thinking about the next question that we're going to ask them, potentially handling objections as we discussed in this podcast. But I think Andrew has a very simple and effective approach. And that is putting himself in the shoes of his clients and thinking about things from their perspective and what they're hearing from their prospective agent. Sometimes putting yourself in your client's shoes is the best way to remind yourself of what you should be saying and what you should be talking about, how you should be approaching a situation. And like Andrew said, ditching that script for a more authentic approach. Everybody wants to be treated well, so if you go in with the mindset that you're going to approach your next client living by the golden rule, you're going to be just fine. When it comes to marketing and doing it authentically, Andrew talks about providing value for his clients. So everything that he is thinking about is, how can I provide this value? It's not about mass marketing. It's not about sending meaningless mailers out to 5,000 different people. It's about connecting with his client base and making sure that when he actually does touch base with them, he has something to say that's going to provide value to his clients. And that's how he's getting so much repeat and referral business. Sometimes it's just strictly more about the quality than it is quantity in your marketing. So think about it from your client's perspective. Are they gaining something out of what you're doing or what you're providing to them? And approach your marketing from that standpoint. The last thing I'll say, and I don't want to get too philosophical about this, but sometimes finding your authentic voice in real estate is easier said than done. Sometimes you have to be introspective and really think about your approach, what you're trying to achieve, and where your comfort level is communicating in our industry. By communicating, I mean your marketing, speaking with clients, even speaking to other agents. And if you have trouble with that, start with your North Star. What are your values? What is important to you? Who are you as a person? Lean into your value system, and that will be a great start in finding your authentic voice in real estate and what you stand for. Well, that's it for this week's episode. We will be back in another couple of weeks with a new topic, a new guest, and as always, if you want to hear a topic that we haven't covered yet, please reach out to me, jason.ostrowski@foxroach.com. And if you haven't liked or subscribed to our podcast or left us a review yet, please do so. It helps us to reach more people. Once again, this is Jason Ostrowski saying stay safe out there, stay selling, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Everything Real Estate Podcast.